3, 2, 1.
And folks, of course, that can only mean one thing. We are live here on the latest edition of Core Truths, and it has been a long time since we've been with you last. It's been, goodness, probably a good 5, 6 weeks or so. But, of course, hey, it is wrestling season. We're post-WrestleMania, got lots going on. Lots to discuss, gentlemen, lots to touch on. So here we are. Folks, this is the Core Truths. As always, we are unscripted. We are uncensored. We're even a little bit uncondoned, but that is the Core Truths. And, folks, I want to first bring in the gentlemen. As always, I am joined with Jimmy, the Kingpin, Ryan, I always win, and John, my God, Bajarski. Gentlemen, how is each and every one of you doing?
Doing well, my friend.
Very well.
I'd like to say hello, but I'm afraid I've got some bad news.
And folks, so apropos by John, my God, Bajarski, you gotta throw it up. Folks, I'll tell you what, lots to discuss. Goodness, do we have a lot to get to in this show, folks. There is so much going on. We could be on the verge, folks, of 3 national professional wrestling promotions. Can you believe it? When was the last time that ever happened, folks? I apologize.
The dogs are barking, my friend. There's excitement everywhere.
Folks, who let the dogs out? I don't know, but someone clearly did, folks. You know, you got to throw it up. Of course, I want to show you this. Austin Aries, of course, throwing it up for Austin Aries. And, of course, Austin Aries is a wine drinker, which, gentlemen, appropriately enough, I'm having a glass of wine. You know why I'm having some wine? Because I had some beer in my house, but somehow, I don't know where it all went. I don't know if I had a party this past weekend or if someone was celebrating a bachelor party, if someone's getting married soon. I don't know. I'm thinking maybe John Bajarski can fill me in on that, but all my beer is gone, so I'm drinking wine, rocking the Austin Aries shirt. Folks, it's going to be a good night. But where do you want to start? And why I ask where you want to start, I'm going to throw it to Jimmy the Kingpin. And I say where do you want to start because, folks, as just advertised, this is unscripted. This is uncensored. This is uncondoned. This is the Core Truths. Jim, where do you want to start, my friend?
Well, you know, being as it is, we might as well start. Let's start with some TNA. And I know if those that are listening, you know, TNA isn't probably the direction most want to go to, but if you're a real wrestling fan, if you're a wrestling mark as opposed to a TNA or WWE or, heaven forbid, a global wrestling mark.
They're thrown all over the place. Those
everywhere. As anybody will tell you, wrestling business is best when you have multiple organizations performing well. And recently, I attended Impact Zone taping at the Impact Zone in Orlando. And there's a recent story on WrestleZone, almost word for word describing my thoughts on it. But let's talk about the TNA product before we hop into WWE and look at what they got going on there with brand new champion and Eric Young, who has won cleanly now a couple weeks running. Sacrifice pay-per-view last week, EC3 kind of on the verge. Let's focus our attentions there, gentlemen. What do you think? How about some TNA Impact Wrestling?
Let's get real. I really can't fathom why Eric Young is the TNA World Heavyweight Champion right now. And despite what Willow says, he's kind of a middling champion right now. Can I get some more info on that?
I didn't expect that. Don't you wish we had the audio for that right now? Do you not? Am I the only one who wishes we had the audio?
I'm working on it. Hold on. I'm working on it. This is live and in charge, and we've got the highest quality audio. I will have it ready for you in a moment. Let's all right, let's talk while I'm pulling that fantastic audio up on Audio 8 here in Raleigh, North Carolina. Let's talk Eric Young. It's a good question posed, Bajarski. I take it that you're not impressed with the Eric Young as champion angle.
Well, I'm just a little bit confused. It seemed to have basically come out of nowhere. As a lot of folks have already said, it sort of is apropos of the whole Daniel Bryan thing, but Eric Young's basically been a joke. He's been a joke for years, except for a short period when he's being pushed as like a world elite heel. But
he was in the band, too. The band.
Okay, forget about that. But, I mean, they barely just got out of his...
That was a well-played angle, that whole band thing, but that's neither here nor there.
I mean, they basically, it wasn't that long ago that he was still doing that concussion gimmick where he had a concussion and he was confused, and, not a great gimmick to have, especially in this day and age. So there was that. They had the whole ODB angle where he was the knockout tag champion. I repeat that, knockout tag champion for like a year.
He still is.
And
He retired as
Mr.
a
DB.
That's right, Mr. ODB. So, I mean, I still can't get it. I get his feud with Abyss and his partnership with Joseph Park before that, but I'm not feeling him as world champion.
Well, Steve, let's segue to you, man. Eric Young is champ, and I was there. I was not there for the win, but I was there for his first appearance afterwards. What are your thoughts?
To be honest, it's like this. I think wrestling is moments, and I know this when I say moments that you remember. That Impact where Eric Young won the belt, that was the last live Impact till June. Remember, they're not going to have another live show until after Slammiversary, which is going to be on the road too, which is good, at a casino in Philly. But nonetheless, that resonated with me, that moment, and I don't think anyone's going to deny that. I think all four of you are going to say that was a memorable moment watching him win the belt. Secondly, remember, this guy has another Animal Planet show debuting, and I understand it's like that's laughable. Animal Planet, what is that? Okay, it's basically a subsidiary of Discovery. However, what does TNA have as far as mainstream appeal goes? Really, Eric Young's the closest thing, and this company right now, which I'm sure we're going to get into in a few minutes, I don't know if its health is in the best state right now. Eric Young might be the best thing they have as far as grabbing some mainstream attention. He is the closest thing they have to a crossover star. And thirdly, the third point I'm going to make is this. The guy works his butt off, much more than probably anyone. He's been there since 2004, and remember that promo he cut about maybe 3 weeks before he lost the belt? TNA promo of the year. One of the best promos we've seen in any promotion, period. And you guys know what I'm talking about, where he went down everything from, you threw me in Team Canada, you threw me in Super Eric, you threw me in World Elite, you threw me in the band. It's like, I've done everything. You gave me the knockout tag titles. I've done everything you've thrown at me, and I've made it work. And that's true. No matter what, I always said, truthfully, that Eric Young was a rich man's Santino. Which what I'm saying is, he was a better, because when Santino was at his best in WWE, he was comedy wrestling, at its finest. And folks, you heard it there first. Now, I'm not going to go as far as I agree with Willow. My point is, I'm not ready. What I'm saying is, I'm not going to abandon ship just yet. I'm willing to see it, to see this a little bit more out, and it's like, I think all of us would agree he's deserving for the work he puts in. Sure, what was it a knee-jerk reactionary move by TNA? Yeah, TNA's made a lot of those. I agree. Could it have been reminiscent a little bit too much of Daniel Bryan? No, of course, certainly. But is it too early to deem it a failure? I agree with that as well. You can't call it a failure just yet. But Rizzo, I'm interested to hear what you got to say.
I was very, very, I think, pretty much everybody.
You can never hear that enough. That should just be the whole podcast.
Why would Jeff Hardy call someone else the greatest champion and not himself?
The only thing that would have made that better is Bad News Barrett. I'm afraid I've got some bad news. Here's my question: is Hardy British? Fiend, what is that?
I mean,
Carolina British.
That's an amazing moment.
It's memorable. I'll say that.
The champ or the.
I remember after it happened, I texted everyone. I said, "Did you guys see that promo with Willow?" And Bojar was like, "Yeah, that was weird."
Then you texted everybody nonstop to listen to it.
What's that?
Then you texted everybody nonstop to listen to it.
I did. It's worth it. But when I first saw it on TV, I had to pause, and I was like, "That was odd. Like that was just weird." But nonetheless, Rizzo, continue, my friend.
Well, anyways, I think like everybody was very surprised that he won it. It seems like after he gave that promo, what was it, 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks before he won it or whatever, I started to feel like he was actually starting to feel over, or maybe I just didn't notice it before because they never really gave him attention. But it's I can't say I've really watched any of these past couple weeks, but I don't know. Is he over? Like, is it working? Like, what the hell's happened to Magnus? Like, seriously.
Well, I think we can all deem Magnus a failure, but as far as the reign, I think that's been bad booking. And if you want, we can discuss that if more, but we don't even probably really have to. I think it's just been bad booking. But Jim, you were kind of an Eric Young mark, always have been. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, I'm fine with it. I think what happened is you finally get Magnus the title, and then you book him as a weak champ, and what's even worse than that was the Abyss pairing, which made absolutely no sense. You don't wrap up the Joe Park angle with Abyss. You bring Abyss back as like some sort of like Fruit Loop, like Kane with this weird new mask and this strange odd hair, and I don't know, the best booked match that Magnus was in was the title defense. He had some near pinfalls, almost won the match. That was probably the best match that he's had, and he lost. So I think what they did is they booked themselves into a corner, and they needed a new champ. So they jumped on the Daniel Bryan bandwagon, and it's fine. And I think the one thing I noticed is I was in Florida when this all went down, and there was a lot of Twitter action on from all the professional wrestlers in all the different organizations, propping him for winning. So I guess it's his time, and now I guess the question is, how long does his run go for? And we've got the Slammiversary is the next pay-per-view, and my assumption would be that he's going to carry the title until then, at the very least. I'm not really sure where he goes from here, what the feud is. I'm not sure what's even interesting at this point. I don't know. When you've got guys like Rude, and you've got guys like Bully Ray, and you've got guys, even an up-and-comer like EC3, who seem to have more of the, no pun intended, the it factor. I'm okay giving him the belt. I actually thought Magnus was going to win it back, and they were going to book him better. Magnus had that great promo the other night. I don't have anybody in my corner. This is going to be me all by myself. It was the right promo. It would have been the right promo 3 months ago. And I kind of thought maybe they were going to reboot Magnus there, but they didn't. Now you've got Samoa Joe gone. Austin Aries booked terribly, and I truly have no idea where this is going. I don't know who he's going to be going up against next. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes. I don't know. I don't know. I like him as champ. I am an Eric Young guy. I do like him. I wish he would have been booked better over the years instead of the Santino character, as you mentioned. But they've booked him right over the past 3 or 4 weeks. So we'll see. I mean, maybe he can carry momentum. The problem with momentum in TNA right now is it's hard to see it. It's hard to see it with all these tapings. It's hard to see it with these tapings in Orlando. That truly was one of the worst wrestling experiences that I've ever been a part of, sitting in on the Impact Zone, and we went, Steve and I and Ryan went to that show in Erie last year, drew probably 600-700 people, and to be perfectly frank with you, that was a hotter crowd than what I was at with the Impact Zone. So I don't know, now they're moving around, and we'll see some tapings in different places, and perhaps that's the way to go, and perhaps that will save the product. But right now, they got to get over the hump of this Impact Zone. They got to get out of Orlando. So Eric Young is great, but I don't know that Eric Young booked in Orlando. I don't know that anyone booked in Orlando. Honestly, the only 2 guys that had heat in Orlando, Austin Aries. Austin Aries had a ton of heat. Without a doubt, EC3.
Where do they go then if they leave Orlando?
Small venues.
Small venues? Could they go small venues in Chicago?
I would grassroots it. I would take the ECW approach without the stupid ECW product. Play small venues.
Guys, okay, but remember, they had this confirmed that they're doing 2 tapings 30 minutes outside of Philadelphia in June, and then 3 tapings in New York, which is basically that's gonna be their TV through July. Now, that's gonna be hot. You're going to hotbeds for wrestling. There.
It better be. It better be, because if they go to those venues and they're not hot crowds, it's done.
Well, I don't think that's going to save it at all. I think a TV deal, I really think that has no bearing on it at this point. Hot crowds aren't going to save TNA or kill TNA. Dead crowds. The only thing that's going to save TNA or kill it is getting a TV deal.
But I guess this is where the TNA thing is. I mean, we're at a point now where what's the ceiling? You know, I guess if they stay on Spike, what's the ceiling? What are we talking about? A company that can't draw, that has a show every week that has, you know, 0.8 to 1.2 ratings forever, and I just don't know that that's something that a TV entity of any kind is going to definitely. I mean, I don't know. If they lost as much money as Heyman said they lost, I just don't see how fathomable it is for it to.
How much did Heyman say they lost?
Heyman said they lost. He said when he was in discussions with them to take over, that he said that they stated that they were losing $7 to $8 million a month at the time. And
when
that
was this? How long ago?
Pre-Hogan.
Here's what I know. It was costing them $18 million per road taping last year. That's a lot.
Well, he said that the year that they were bringing him in, he said that year they said they lost $60 to $70 million. And I don't know if it was that year or if it was over a span of 2 or 3 years. This was on Austin's
turned
podcast.
The corner around 2007 or somewhere around there. We're making money. That's from Jarrett at the time.
I'm just telling you. I mean, Heyman may have been trying to work over how much money he lost at ECW. I mean, the conversation was about his ECW loss.
Yeah, first of all,
I don't.
Heyman. You're not going to talk about Heyman because ECW overrated as hell, lost a shit ton of money. That's a fact. Okay, tons of money, and we're going to act like he's the holy grail of wrestling. Okay, I'm not going to. No, you're right. You're right, Jim. Thank you for setting me straight. We're not going to talk about Heyman anymore.
Yeah, I don't agree with anything you just said. You know I don't. So if you're trying to open up that can of worms, all I'll tell you is 10 years from now, if you mention TNA and you mention ECW, and I'm not an ECW mark by any stretch, I'm just saying. I mean, production value,
if you want to go get 0.4 ratings on TNN on Friday nights at 8 o'clock, we can watch ECW.
Okay. I mean, but you know I'm right. I mean, product-wise, memorable. I mean, making a mark in wrestling, not even close. I mean, come on, Steve.
I agree, but I don't like Heyman. I don't like a guy. Here's my thing. I don't like a guy who's acting like his shit don't stink. You understand what I'm saying? No. What I'm saying. No, all I'm saying is, Jim. I don't. Jim, I understand. Was getting a little.
I don't think, but I think he lost $7 million over the span of 7-year periods.
It was significantly more than that.
$7 million. It was documented on a WWE production.
Those are clearly true all the time.
Well,
thank you, my friend.
Well, yeah. Because the WWE is going to promote Paul Heyman's ECW product in the rise and fall of ECW. I mean, come on.
Well, they own it, so yeah.
They didn't.
They own it now. They owned it then.
Yeah, and they own the rights
to
the Ultimate Warrior too in 2005, and they just bitch slapped the shit out of him.
Okay, but
that's
Jim,
very entertaining.
How many times did WWE bail ECW out too? From the get-go. We're talking from like '96 on. Vince was bailing.
I mean, we're arguing about. What are we arguing about? I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I know how you feel about ECW. I'm not trying to turn this into a Paul Heyman flame war. I'm just saying what he said. If they're spending $18 million per episode, on the road. I mean, that alone. I mean, that alone says it all to me about TNA. I mean, if there's,
well, that
is
makes
insanity.
sense. Jim. I mean, I'm sure that makes sense when you think about all the taping equipment and the fact that they weren't doing.
No. Right. But what are they? At what point do you say to yourself that's smart when you're drawing 1.2 at best?
Jim, you're right. It was a mistake. What they needed is once in a while road shows, once in a while, and then a regular home base or something. You know what I mean? In a good city, not Orlando, in a Chicago, like Ryan mentioned, or something of the like.
Chicago, Philly, New York. You're right.
Yeah,
I mean, the big major and places down here in North Carolina pick territories, pick the hot territories.
But the point, I mean, you got to remember with Orlando that like 70 years ago it was a bunch of fields. Okay, so it's basically a tourist town. So, but my point with TNA in that regard is that, you know, bottom line is I mean, that was Hogan and Bischoff who pushed that hard. But that's been proven. So basically, they basically, you know, hurt the company in that regard. And you know, at least they were trying. I want to preface this with when they went on the road, and Ryan and John will confirm this. Their product was getting its highest reviews ever from the IWC, probably ever. Seriously, after 2012. I mean, there was a reason for this. Am I right, gentlemen?
I mean, I think their product was better when they actually went live rather than when they went on the road. Because I think by the time they actually officially went on the road in like 2013, it was taking a bit of a dive. 2012, they were live. It was 8 o'clock. That was a better product, I'd argue, but that's kind of nitpicking.
But what I'm saying is, it was the good quality of 2012 that led them to them. Because remember, they announced they were going on the road, I believe, at the end of 2012. They were going to be taking it on the road, if I recall.
I think that's true, and they took it on the road probably March, April, something like that.
Right, it was shortly before WrestleMania, yes.
No.
And it turned out good to begin with because they started in hot cities, Chicago, you know, but...
Oh, you know, Indiana, PA, great city.
You gotta love IUP, right?
We'll check it out.
But, you know, here's the bottom line, folks. You know, you look at TNA right now, production values, Jim, you said it, you've tweeted it, better than they've probably ever been because they got Big John Garbrick. Videos, excellent. You know, this. I mean, that's half the reason why it was so expensive.
Yeah, their video product. The video, I'd be hard-pressed to say that I've seen a bad video that they put out in the past year or more. Their video productions are I would be intrigued if they ever decided to go that route and they did these pre-taped even matches. Like, you know, you talk about Sam Shaw. Like, I would be intrigued with a match they could put together in some sort of vignette style with a Sam Shaw angle. You know, that's the kind of thing that makes them different. But those videos they put out are phenomenal.
No,
like Ryan, and I don't mean to, like, you know, don't mean to take this over, but I'll shoot this over to Ryan. Like, to me, like the EC3 Rockstar Spud angle when they were like supposedly here in North Carolina, in like the backwoods of North Carolina, hunting for Willow, like that to me was production gold.
No, I completely agree. I think it started, maybe I can't remember what was before with those Gunner videos or with like James Storm or whatever.
Hey, what about those Aces in 8 videos? Even going back that far.
Yeah,
remember that?
Was that prior to Willow?
Yeah. Oh, remember? Yeah. Remember the Aces in 8 video, Steve? And you're the one that pointed this out. The Bully Ray explanation videos.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. I mean, I hated that angle until I saw that, and then I still hated the angle, but at least they tied it together well.
Well, then, guys, here's the thing. We know their strengths, and I think everyone here is probably not too confident in TNA's future. What happens from here? I mean, what Jim, do they have to get off Spike? Is that what's hurting them? I think we'd all agree that the product in 2014 has been better than 2013, definitely, without a doubt. The Impact Zone's hurting them again, sure. But how do you say this? How do you right the ship, so to speak?
Well, I mean, the TV deal, as you mentioned. I mean, I think if they can get another TV deal, for example, and we talked about this, Steve, and I think if I'm the Carters, I'm I'm contacting Fox Sports. I'm contacting TBS TNT, which is actually where I would be contacting. I'd be focusing my energy there. I putting the product together somewhere else to me would be the best way to go. Now, is that viable? I don't know. I mean, if you go back as far as you know, and I don't mean to bring ECW up, but if you go back to ECW when they left Spike because of, or I'm sorry, what was it? It wasn't Spike then. What was it before Spike? You said it before, Steve. TNN. When they got bounced from TNN, the plan was for them to go to USA. They were heading to USA, and then USA said, "Why would we want the number 2 product on TV when we had the number 1 product?" So they basically lost their TV deal. That's kind of what I see happening with TNA. But if they could figure out a way to get another TV deal outside of Spike, I think that's the route I would go, regardless of where WWE goes. That would be my first step. But really, to be honest with you, their struggle right now is, while the wrestling product's good, they have a product that doesn't have a name. They don't have a name. Their big name right now is Kurt Angle, and I think we can all agree that 3 or 4 months from now, he's probably not going to be in TNA. The problem is they now essentially are running a product that's very similar to NXT, but trying to push it as an actual viable secondary company to WWE. So what I would say is new TV deal, and maybe if they can get a money bump from that TV deal, getting a name they can focus around and maybe try to draw some people. And we've talked about that before. I mean, I don't know that there's anyone out there other than the obvious name, but TV deal and name. I mean, that's what they've got to do if they're going to stay TNA and if they're going to continue on.
John, Ryan, what are your thoughts?
Now, here's an interesting question, and this is something that I really don't know about. Could they take it to Europe and broadcast over here? Because those crowds are nothing like anything they have here, maybe besides the hot cities like Philly or Chicago or New York. But
and remember, their TV ratings are higher than WWE.
Exactly. This is what I'm saying. Why don't they just, I don't know how this works and with major networks or whatnot, but why don't they try, what if they took it to like a Europe and just toured there, or found a home somewhere in Europe and just started broadcasting over there and through a BBC or whatever? Is that like a British network?
Sky Sports.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this. I think the way TNA tours with their tapings, it would be doable, I think. But I would have to imagine, and Steve Bojar, jump in here, I'd have to imagine if production values are high here, I can't fathom what the production values would be there. They'd have to completely buy into the home over there mentality and then convince their roster to live in England. And that to me would be difficult.
And that's the thing, the families. And consider this, TNA, that's where we know that they get better ratings than WWE in Europe. But my point is, it must not factor enough in the dollars, because they even if it did, you'd think they wouldn't be in as much danger as they are. But my point is, TNA does what? One overseas tour every year, January every year. I've done it for the last 4 years. WWE does what, 4 or 5 a year. So
Sure.
Kind of puts into perspective the dollars amount that it factors into doing tours like that.
I mean, I'm going to bring up another issue here, and like you mentioned, talent before, in terms of either somehow living in the U.S. and then commuting to Great Britain, wherever it is, once a week, once every couple weeks. You mentioned Kurt Angle before. Who's their other big wrestling name right now?
Bully
Jeff
Ray.
Hardy. Well, Bully Ray. I'm going to pull out Jeff Hardy.
Jeff Hardy.
Jeff Hardy's
sure.
a big part of that deal, and
Actually, Bojar, yeah, he's the biggest. I take it back. He's probably the most. The biggest name they have, who's probably, I guess, in his prime.
Right. But he cannot travel overseas, I'm guessing, because of his criminal past. It's kind of a hindrance there, unless he plays Willow on video and just does special shows every once in a while.
Which is what he did this year.
Could you imagine that? They show him jumping off the top turnbuckle, and they clip away, and EC3's laid out in the middle of the ring with no Willow around. That'd be classic.
It's creative editing. That's what you got to do. That's what's going to save him.
Well, they could probably do it. That's the thing.
Past that, TV deal's definitely the most important thing. Because from my view, even if it's a no-name product, there's so little like actual wrestling companies out there. It's going to be a highly rated show for a small network.
Like a
If
Spike.
they do enough advertising. Yeah, for like a Spike. I mean, even though I'm sure Cops reruns and maybe Bar Rescue get higher ratings, TNA
Jail.
is still probably one of the high. Jail's a great show. Still probably one of the best, highest
Gangland.
rated shows on there. Gangland repeats. Okay.
Is the greatest world champion TNA's ever seen.
Well, here's my thing. Let's just go down the line before we move on to the next topic. Predictions. I'm going to start with all of you. Will TNA? I'm not going to ask you if TNA is going to go out of business because you know I'm not. I don't even want to think that. You know me. I'm going to ask each and every one of you. Will TNA have a TV deal after October? Will TNA be on television in the U.S. because they have TV deals all across the world? But will TNA be on TV in the U.S. after October, which is when their Spike deal expires?
I want to go last.
Can I just say 50-50? I really have no idea where it's going to go right now.
That's really hard to say. When do we know when Global Force might get a network, or if they do?
I don't think Global Force. I think I'm getting this. The more this goes on with Global Force Wrestling, the more I'm thinking that this is one of those things where what our picture of what it's going to be, and I think what everybody's hoping that it's going to be, is way over what it turns out to be. I have some thoughts on that, and maybe we'll get into it later. But I don't think TV deal wise, I don't think Spike's where they're going. I don't know. I mean, I could honestly see.
Are you a Global Force, Mark?
Me?
Yeah.
I
You
just
sound like
essentially,
you're
essentially said that they're overhyped, and you're calling me a mark.
Okay. No, I apologize. I thought you were saying Spike was not good enough for them. I apologize.
Oh no. What I was saying is, if anything, I could see Global Force starting with like like Fox affiliates. Not even Fox Sports 1. I could see them on an affiliate at like midnight somewhere.
Well, Sports Time Ohio, they lost Prime Wrestling, so they're looking for something.
Well, and that's kind of where I'm looking at. When they mentioned this AAA thing, a lot of people took that as a positive, and I know AAA is planning this big USA show. And when I think of that, I just think Ring of Honor, and I just think that we're going to be seeing that with Global Force Wrestling at first.
Well,
and apparently your dogs agree with me. I don't think Global Force is something to worry about yet.
Well, yeah, I guess I would say I'm leaning 75% saying that they stay on TV where they are. Or
John,
maybe
what's your call?
Why change the status quo? I mean, it's hard to imagine like Spike without them right now, even though they're arguably not a huge part of it. But I'd like to see TNA on TV, and I'll go between 50 and 80% they stay on.
I'll go. I know, Jim, you want to go last. I'll go. At this point, 50% chance they stay on, and I am the biggest TNA mark probably in Western Pennsylvania, possibly. And I'll go 50% chance. I'm not as confident. I think it's a bad sign that we're in May and they haven't signed a new deal. That's a bad sign to me. But Jim, I'm interested to hear your. But also, remember, guys, last week they signed that big time media firm. They wouldn't do that if they're not concerned themselves. So they're pointing out all the stops. I mean, you know why they did that. They did that because they hope that if the Spike thing falls through, they can get a deal with another network. That was telling, and you did read that all the wrestlers are very happy about that they signed with that big media firm. But that is proof that they're hearing whispers and they're scared as well. But Jim, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think Viacom. I mean, I think the WWE holds all the cards right now, and I don't understand why we haven't heard anything from them. And I guess in the next week or two, WWE is going to announce their TV deal, and it's looking more and more like USA is not it. And if USA is not it, you have to imagine we're looking at two potential moves, and that would be Viacom and Fox Sports. And my gut tells me that Spike won't be an option for TNA. If Spike's not an option for TNA, then this media firm's got a lot of work to do. So I guess I guess I will. I don't know if this is the more realistic view or what, but I'm going to go 25%, and I really think that might be overshooting. I see a gap. I see them off a spike, and I see a gap in time, and hopefully that gap makes the product better and gets them onto another station.
And doesn't
But
kill them.
I think WWE has absolutely played their cards in a way that really hurts TNA moving forward, because we're looking at a span of 4 or 5 months where if they don't have a deal, they have 4 or 5 months to not only find a deal with another TV station, but get everything tied up and wrapped up, and that's usually a process that takes 8 to 12 months.
You know that TNA did this before, though, right?
Yes.
Fox
Yes.
Sports had to spike. For 4 months, they broadcast online. They did away with pyros entirely to save money. Seriously. That's how bad it went. No pyro at any, and that's how rough it was.
But
And they made it through.
But the difference between the companies at the time is, I think back then they were still looked at as an up-and-coming company, where right now they're not.
And also the business. It's amazing to think how much hotter the business was in 2005, the wrestling business, where you're getting every week still like over, 4s, 4.5. WWE's getting 4.5s every week, as opposed to like barely over 3 if they're lucky. On a good week, Raw gets over a 3. That tells you how bad. That's telling, though, compared to how much the business has fallen from 2005 to now. Now, remember, 2005, of course, was the year where John Cena and Batista, were established as main event stars. But I think that well. But gentlemen, let's move on. We've talked plenty of TNA. A good 40 minutes. Who would have thought? But hey,
TNA needs the time, man. We got to give TNA the time. At the end of the day, as Stone Cold Steve Austin says over and over and over again, hey, Brett, we need TNA to live.
We do, but Bojo's got some hands motions he wanted to show us all.
Oh, I actually wasn't trying to show anyone. I was just getting in the mood.
Get in the mood. Nice, yeah. Well, I'm always in the mood for TNA. So, nonetheless, folks, there we go. Look at Reed. What is that? Is that Willow?
This is Willow.
Nice. Nice. All right, gentlemen, let's move on. Let's move right to Global Force. Folks, we saw Jeff Jarrett. More announcements. He's got the Biggest Loser production company behind him, saying they're going to have 52 weeks of live television or live programming a year without a TV deal. I just want to throw it out. Basically, whatever you want to say about Global Force, your opinions, throw it out. Who wants to start? Any of you, grab it. Take that by the horns. Global Force.
I just want to say it's nice to know that some way, somehow, Vince Russo will have a home in the world.
Okay, let's start with the name. Do we really need the name? Listen, I want this to be a good product. But seriously, if I were 7 and I were in the backyard with my friends getting ready to wrestle, and I wanted to create my own 7-year-old, I'm going to beat the crap out of you in the sandbox kind of wrestling, I think I would name it Global Force Wrestling.
Here's the thing, folks. Listen to me right now. MLW, Major League Wrestling. I know there's an indie promotion with the same name. You could buy them out, buy the copyrights to it, because they're not going to be able to afford them. Major League Wrestling. How's it sound?
I like it better.
MLW.
Get the blue and white logo too.
But it's funny with Jarrett, though, because this is twice he's doing this. Let it be known that one of the biggest PR problems that TNA has faced is the fact that their name is TNA, which people think of, and they think of 2 different parts of the female anatomy. That's a fact. That is a fact. That's one of the things that Hogan and Bischoff, one of the good things they did was emphasize Impact Wrestling. Problem is, they have been hesitant to abandon the TNA name when they should have abandoned it all along. Back in 2011, when they made the change that the show be Impact Wrestling, TNA should have died because it is a bad name for branding a company. Bottom line. And Jarrett, again, did something stupid. It makes you wonder, how dumb can you be? You know what, Jarrett? I liked him. I watched his triple steel cage match with DDP 4 times in the last 2 months. 4 times. I've watched this triple steel cage match 4 times in like the last month. I'm not even kidding. All right, I kind of like Jarrett, but he's kind of an idiot. I watched that match 4 times.
I think I watched it like 3 times.
It's a good match, but how dumb are these names?
Without getting too much more into the name or the logo, which is horrid.
Yeah, it's basically like word art 2.0.
It is totally.
You know, Steve, you and I have been talking a lot about graphics, and we've been talking about someone specifically, and I don't want to bring that name up or anything about that up, but that's what it reminds me of. I mean, seriously, it's like if I were sitting in like my 11th grade class at General McLean High School, it was like the stuff I was drawing on my notebook. I may have, as a matter of fact, I think Jeff Jarrett stole it off of one of my old notebooks. Global Force Wrestling.
He probably did. You know, the funny thing is, to give Jeff Jarrett credit, he might be able to wrestle a damn good triple steel cage match. However, he is not good with branding. Like, and listen, he's the master of triple steel cage matches. I give him that. I mean, as far as like, I have never seen a better triple steel cage match than the one he was in.
Well, I hope. I'll go for it.
Go, Reeves.
I was gonna say, well, I hope he succeeds because I want to see another triple steel cage match.
I do too.
So, in all honesty, though, what do you think his goal is? I mean, I do think that there is a goal here with all of this. In all seriousness, what do you guys think his ultimate goal is? Do you think he's trying to create a viable product to compete with TNA? Do you think he's just a dick and he wants to put TNA under because they wouldn't let him buy out TNA? What's the deal here? I mean, where do you think he's going with this?
Honestly, I think it's probably a little bit of both there.
Yeah.
I mean, TNA, Impact, whatever you want to call it, is his and his dad's baby, you know. He obviously needed a source of money and a legacy after WCW went under and he couldn't go back to WWE. And the fact that he was basically kicked out of TNA for actually a pretty decent reason, all things considered, you know. Probably he's not happy about that, and he wants to start a new company. He already has the relationship with AAA. He did that thing in India. I don't know if that counts anymore, but it's probably a little bit of both. He's angry at TNA, and he wants another company.
Yet he remains TNA's largest shareholder. Interesting.
I still can't get over that. I can't get my head around that.
I just think he wants to do another triple steel cage match.
Which, honestly, for the viewers out there, for the dozens and dozens of viewers, you want to talk about underrated matches? WCW Dark Era of WCW, where it almost died. Slamboree 2000, Diamond Dallas Page versus Jeff Jarrett versus David Arquette. Very good match. You take David Arquette out, that kind of like was what like ruined the reputation of the match. But seriously, I would give that a solid 8 out of 10, 8.5. Borderline.
Is that not the match that Chris Kanyon got paralyzed?
Yeah, he took the bump. That bump, seriously. How nasty is that bump?
It was ridiculous. Like, that's unreal, yeah.
That was a hell of a cell bump,
you gotta watch that match. Then you gotta watch Ready to Rumble.
Exactly. Because the bump that DDP takes in Ready to Rumble is unbelievable. From Sting, where Sting knocks him up, unbelievable.
Oh, dear. I don't know how I even follow that up. I think Jarrett's trying to get territories going again. That's what I think. I think he's trying to tie in AAA. He's trying to tie in. I think India will be at play. I think Japan will be at play. I think he's been to all 3 places. I don't know.
Will Steiner help him out? Because that's his buddy.
Does it matter? I mean, will he register? I mean, I mean, they did draw well in Meadville a few weeks back.
Well, here's the funny thing, Jim and gentlemen. You read this press release, Global Force, their second press release. It said, "We will have 500 wrestlers under our banner." Hello. That's the PWI 500, okay, which ranks the top 500 wrestlers in the world. Do you know who number 273 is? in the world.
I-
John Big League McChesney. So if he's going to have 500 wrestlers working for him, it better be John McChesney. Do you know who the 349th ranked wrestler in the world is?
Ben
Omega Aaron Raven.
Where's Ben Barger?
Exactly, where is Ben Barker? What I'm saying is I'm listing wrestlers who are native of Erie, Pennsylvania, are in the top 500, and really not even that bad. If you're in the top 270 as John McChesney, you're doing all right. You're doing all right. But McChesney, is there a spot for him in Global Force?
Here's what I think Jarrett's actually trying to say. He's not saying there's going to be 500 wrestlers directly under his banner. He's trying to say there's 500 wrestlers potentially under his banner. So he has a potential to have 500 wrestlers working for him at some point in the next 10, 20 years.
Will John McChesney be one of them?
I want John
Yes.
McChesney to be there. I think that would be great.
Honestly, yes. So if you go back and if you go back to the 70s and 80s, the NWA banner would have included at least 500 wrestlers. You look at Harley Race, Ric Flair moving from territory to territory, where you'd have 50 to 70 wrestlers or 30 to 40 wrestlers, depending on the territory. And he literally would travel across the country and wrestle in these territories, from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, to Miami, Florida. He would wrestle, and they would all be considered under the NWA banner, under the National Wrestling Alliance. I think he picked Global Force Wrestling, and he's counting AAA, and he's counting the India Ring King stuff, and he's counting whatever organization in Japan, and he's counting all of these organizations across the United States. And some of what you said, Bojar, I think is right. Potentially these random federations throughout the United States, potentially he could have that many wrestlers under the global banner. I just don't see it working today. I mean, today, as Steve, you've said 1,000 times, it's about TV money, and if he's borrowing TV from all these different organizations, I don't see how Global Force Wrestling in and of itself can make money. I think he's going to be dependent on all these other organizations, and ultimately AAA cares about AAA, and whoever in India cares about whoever in India, and Wrestle One or All Japan or whatever Japanese wrestling cares about all, and eventually, who cares about this random belt that comes around? I mean, You look at Japan right now. They have a deal with TNA. When that title goes home, when Next Division title goes back to Japan, I'm sure it's a big deal. But is it the big deal there? No, it's probably a sideshow match there.
Yeah. I guess I was surprised that when this Global Force thing was announced, did anyone else think that a TV deal would be part of the big announcement, or was I alone in that?
No, I thought 100%. I thought that was the announcement. We have a TV deal.
What?
Screw you, TNA.
Guess how I felt when they didn't announce a TV deal.
That it
You thought
sucked.
about their logo first.
Good.
I felt happy, joy. And you are silent, all of you.
I will
We're
say
not.
that
I'm not.
Why did I feel joy at them not having a TV deal?
Because Erie has 2 wrestling promotions.
We do. We do. One's local TV. But why was that the case?
Worried about TNA.
It's like this.
Just
How do I do it in? Nonetheless. Nice. You know what I'm getting at, though.
So what if TNA is under the Global Force Wrestling banner?
They won't.
Will either Erie promotion be under the Global Force banner?
I think they already are, Rye. I think they're already there.
Definitely already under that.
But seriously, you know what will be under it? I guarantee IWC would be under it. And if Prime were still around, they'd be under it. Seriously. Yeah. Would you guys? I wouldn't disagree. Absolutely, they would be.
Yeah.
Explain to me how this whole thing, Jarrett essentially, he owns the most stock in TNA, and he's competing against that. It's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. So Tough Enough's coming back.
WWE Network.
Yeah. I don't know if Austin's involved. I'd have to imagine that he is, but at least there's that.
Well, nice segue, folks. Let's get to our final topic of the evening, and I want to talk about. Finally, we're saving the worst for last. JK. I do love WWE, no joke. But let's discuss WWE Network, and I want to start with the news in the first quarter of 2014. WWE's financial losses of $8 million. Might not seem like a big deal to you, but it is a big deal to a company that's publicly traded, a public company on Wall Street. $8 million loss in one quarter is a big deal. That's a very big deal. And not one of you is going to be able to deny that. I know Jim is thinking, yeah, this guy, this TNA Mark. But TNA Mark, nonetheless, $8 million in a quarter. And don't get me wrong, the WWE Network, as three of the four of us will attest, is one of the greatest creations since, probably since the Pet Rock. But an amazing creation, amazing.
Mexican jumping beans, my friend.
Exactly. Well, yes, those are off the chain as well. Probably the greatest creation since Duquesne Pilsner is what I'm thinking. But anyhow, nonetheless, actually, the greatest creation since Duquesne University.
I could smell it in West Virginia. It smelled great.
Oh, it's off the chain, my friend. But $8 million loss in the first quarter for a publicly traded company. They want. I mean, what is it? What are all your thoughts on this? Remember that they have 667,000 subscribers, which is basically a disappointment. And it's been announced that people backstage disappointed. What are your thoughts on this? Thoughts on the WWE Network? You guys watching Legends House? You know, Legends House. Legends House.
It's on right now.
I'll tell you what. As the one guy here who did not get the WWE Network yet, I will say, before I hesitated to say that, TNA would not be on TV in the fall, and I feel the same way about WWE. I really do feel that they are too big to fail. And I think the network, in all honesty, is probably going to be out there for a while. Don't know if it's going to be a success over the next few years, but they too would need a TV deal, and they got to get back on the pay-per-view bandwagon if they're really that concerned. But I'm not going to say the sky's fallen down yet. It's still kind of a new thing, based on what everyone's saying.
Here's what's so telling. DirecTV dropping them. Dish Network, it's like, who gives a crap? What's a Dish Network? I don't know what that is. I never heard of it. But DirecTV dropping them is a big deal. Here's why. DirecTV gets so many subscribers because of why? Because NFL Sunday Ticket. They have the exclusive contract with the NFL, so they get a ton of subscribers. The highest rated cable provider in America from a customer service standpoint and from their own customers is DirecTV. The other concern there, my friends, is this. Fox and the Hound, which had a contract with WWE, showed all their pay-per-views. Almost every sports bar that had a contract with WWE. And remember, it cost them $5,000 per pay-per-view to show it. What do you think, what sports bar, what do sports bars have as a pay-per-view, as a cable provider? Well, they have DirecTV, because, of course, they usually show Sunday Ticket as well, which makes, you know what I mean? That's what a traditional sports bar does. So not only does DirecTV dropping pay-per-views affect DirecTV people that watch it at their home, it affects the people that go to a bar to watch a WWE pay-per-view, which is a bigger percentage than you would think.
I mean, does it though? Couldn't these bars technically have the WWE Network and just charge what they've been charging and make a shit ton of money off of it?
I don't know. They'd have to make an agreement with WWE because there's a legal thing. Back in around 7 to 8 years ago, WWE made a deal where to show their pay-per-view, you have to pay them $5,000 per pay-per-view.
Yeah, I can't imagine any bar actually making money off that though. Honestly, like for one night.
Nah, you'd make money. They wouldn't do it if you didn't. I don't know.
It's an excessively complicated matter. I think that when you look at the complete picture, it's very muddy because the first thing you look at with regards to WWE, even before that, is the simple fact that their top stars got paid via pay-per-view money, and now that money's gone. So how when they do their pay-per-view gate, or where they do their big WrestleMania payday, where are they getting the money for that? I think that's something to consider, because you're looking at $1 million days for these guys at WrestleMania, which is a big part of their payroll throughout the year. I mean, a lot of these guys make as much as they do in one day as they do for a 3 or 4 month period. So that's the first concern for WWE is how is that factored in. But long term, and John, you were talking long term, and I agree with you. WWE right now is, even if they were to slow burn right now, it'd probably take them 10 years to fail to the point where they're gone. I think that there are enough people out there that think that they're way ahead of the game with regards to WWE Network, in that with all these things that are coming through about over-the-air product and fees costs, that ultimately WWE's goal is to have all of their product on the network except for 2 shows, possibly 3. And when I say ahead of the game, I mean 4 to 5 years ahead of the game. I think enough people think that they're ahead of the game, that this $8 million, I mean, I don't know how big of a shock that is. I mean, I think when you put the amount of effort that they've put into this network over the past 7 to 8 months, I think that there was a figure probably in their minds of what they'd lost. I don't know if $8 million is more than that or less than that. I do know that last year
with their subscribers. Remember that they were disappointed with the subscriber numbers.
Yeah, Steve, but remember, again, you keep talking about that, but remember, it's May, and they have until December 31st to have that $1 million number. I mean,
but remember this. But you remember this about TNA.
I don't know. I mean, I think I like the network, not as much as you guys. I like the network, just not as much as you guys.
About it.
I was, and I will be honest with you. I'm let down. I mean, there's stuff that I don't like. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I don't like. I need original programming. I'm not getting it. I'm not talking about Legends House.
Well, here's my problem. Did you watch the Triple Steel Cage match?
I did. I unfortunately did not.
Well, okay, Ryan.
You gotta do it, dude. I don't know what else to say.
Mike, awesome.
Just search. Go to that top right of that portion of your screen and search Triple Steel Cage match.
Did Bojar just mention Mike Awesome?
He's in the match.
He appears, yeah.
I was very disappointed to learn that he died. I didn't know that he died.
He was incredibly talented, very good in the ring, good in the mic, good look, But Jim, to get back to this WWE Network thing, I agree. I don't think it's going to die right away. I really don't. No. I don't see it dying by any means anytime soon, especially with the conglomerate that WWE is. But I guess, okay, maybe I'm grasping at straws when I identify these concerns, the pay-per-view, the Fox and the Hound, the fact that that's the way the business is going. But nonetheless, I think WWE sacrificed TV dollars to try to promote the network, and what I mean is that television deal with Ion, which still I'm sure is probably worth a good chunk of change for main event. They basically, for the last month and a half, they said, whatever, we're just going to put this on the network. We're going to try to use the WWE main event as an original programming on the network and sacrifice the TV deal. And that's why Ion dropped them, because Ion was ticked. It's like, okay, you air us on Ion Wednesdays at 8, but you're going to air us live on the network at 8 on Tuesdays. So a day earlier, they're airing the show live, and they're going to show the replay on Ion. Probably not a good look when it comes to TV negotiations. And is it any doubt that Ion dropped them? And Main Event's a good show. It's been good on the network. I don't know if you guys saw it this Tuesday's episode. Very good. They had some Cody Rhodes Goldust stuff. Bad News Barrett was in action. Sheamus versus what's his name? Bray Wyatt. They're good at putting out a very good product for Main Event. But basically, the fact that they did that, the fact that they sacrificed television dollars, which we know, that's what it's about, for Main Event. And they're basically, as you said, Jim, it proves the only shows they really want on TV are SmackDown and Raw. But it shows you how much they are committed to making this thing work. That's of any sign that they've shown you, the fact that they are willing to basically throw dollars in the trash can to try to get the network to do better, get more subscribers. That's all you need. That's a sign right there.
Well, they need $1 million to break even. Is that correct?
They want $1 million by the end of the year. I don't know if they get $1 million by the end of the year. Do they break even? Is that true or not?
I don't.
Since they released that, like, what, a month ago, that they had 600,000 ish.
Yeah. Well,
but a lot of that, I mean, and see, in the Catch-22 there, though, is a lot of that's WrestleMania push, and I mean, I don't know, and I don't know about that $1 million number. Like, I don't. There's so much, and there's so much unknown, and again, you know, the exact percentages, as Steve mentioned, the $5,000 per bar, and bars across the country, none in North Carolina, believe it or not, but bars across the country, how many bars are paying them $5,000? And that's quite a few.
Two in Erie.
What, every Buffalo Wild Wings and every Fox and the Hound?
Yeah, exactly. Every Buffalo Wild Wings, Fox and the Hound. But Ryan, those are two big franchises to have contracts with. So actually, they probably don't pay five grand each, Ryan, because they are big chains. They probably have a deal. But those are two big franchises nationally.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but the flip side to all of this is that 5,000. There's no way that 5,000 goes completely to WWE either. I mean, DirecTV's got to get their cut.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just so much murky. It's just a murky conversation because there's just so much at play. You've got, like I said, you've got payouts to wrestlers which are gone now essentially. Although they did get 400,000 buys. But you've got, this TV deal's telling. I mean, if this TV deal is massive, then the $8 million that they lost this first quarter is nil. I mean, if they get a massive TV deal, which is what they're shooting for, then it could make their year. It could make their future. If they don't, if that's why they're holding out because they're not getting the deal that they want, then they could potentially be in trouble. So I ask you guys this, and maybe this is how we wrap the show up tonight. Might this all be a ruse for WWE to sell its product? I mean, and when I say sell its product, I mean sell the company, as has been rumored over the past 2 months. Might they be trying to sell?
I can't.
Maybe they fall under that Global Force banner.
Hey guys, Global Force does have 12 products on its online store, so it's not crazy.
And are 8 of them the same shirt?
They have separate shirts, and they also
Side
have
view of the shirt.
You know
That's
what?
one.
You gotta give Reeves props for that there. You have to throw it down for that guy. Quote. Maybe they fall under that Global Force banner. Like, what?
That would be the coup d'etat. Jeff Jarrett running WWE. but not really. It's just it's under the banner. He's not even. He's like above it.
Exactly.
WWE's GOONNE. God.
I just want more triple steel cage matches. That's all I want.
How do we get more of those? By the way, Jim, you better watch that this weekend. You better watch that
tonight. Then watch Ready to Rumble.
Oh, it's unbelievable. But dude, Ready to Rumble. How did that not win an Oscar? Like, tell me that. I mean, it's like David Arquette.
Cage match win match of the year. It should have.
David Arquette's performance in that, it rivals Jack Nicholson in One Flew Over a Cuckoo's Nest. It's riveting,
Scott Conn, underrated.
Scott Conn's leaping pad to greatness. That got him the job. Didn't that get him the job in Varsity Blues?
His father's won, or Oscars.
Did he win it? No.
James
he was
Caan
in a movie that won an Oscar.
James Caan never won an Oscar?
He was in Godfather. That won an Oscar. I don't know that he won one.
He was also on a crappy TV show called Las Vegas.
And he did have a starring role in that movie with Hugh Grant. All
right, I apologize. He was nominated for one Oscar.
Was it The Godfather?
I'm looking it up, my friend. Yes, Best Actor, The Godfather.
Well, he was probably second best actor in Ready to Rumble.
Well, that's Scott Conn. That's his son. What if guys, hold on. What if James Caan were in Ready to Rumble?
Pretty much the greatest movie of all time, then. You know.
Could you imagine Brando?
Oh, he'd be unbelievable. By the way, what
Brando in
about
the Shadows.
Steve Borden should have gotten an Oscar for that movie.
He had one line, but it was perfect. Only
What was
Steve
it?
Borden could deliver that. It's like Jimmy King's okay by me, or something like that.
But who was that Vince McMahon Bischoff wannabe? Sinclair? Who played him? Remember
Yes.
Sinclair?
That was
I don't know.
the name's on the tip of my tongue. I've recognized him, but I don't.
Give me a minute. I'm looking it up right now.
Go down the line. What would you give Ready to Rumble? Scale 1 to 10. Be honest.
The greatest world champion TNA's ever seen.
What do you think it got on IMDb?
5.7.
Jim?
Yes.
5.3? It should be
thought-
like at least like a 9.3.
You see, thing is, it's actually not bad. It's not a bad movie.
No, it's good. Yeah.
It's dumb, but it's funny.
Like, what would you like? Remember that
Like
one time when he's like yelling at that
Is
guy?
that-
He's like, "There's a lot of Sinclair coming out that dome of yours." Like,
It's Titus Sinclair, right?
yeah, Titus Sinclair.
Joe Pantoliano.
Oh, Joe Pantoliano, Joey Pants.
Yeah.
Popular
He's in
actor.
Risky Business.
Character actor.
Marilyn Manson's wife.
Now, Martin
Will
Landau's
McGowan?
no joke. Martin Landau won an Oscar. There's an Oscar winner in Ready to Rumble.
Did he win for Ed Wood? Because that's a great movie too.
I don't believe so.
Oh,
He
Ready
might
to
have.
Rumble was nominated for one award. Guess what it was? The World Stunt Awards. Listen to this. I'm not joking. I'm not even joking. It was nominated for one award, the World Stunt Awards in 2001 for Best Specialty Stunt, Scott Workman, 55-inch descender through cages. The final wrestling match takes place 55 feet up on top of wire cages stacked 3 high. Using a descender, Scott, the stunt double for Diamond Dallas Page, falls and breaks through cages from top to the bottom.
And we are still live.
best podcaster.
What do you guys think? He's up for an award.
Ahmet Zappa was in the movie, so there's that.
Well, is this where we say goodbye?
We have to do our pitches.
Pitches, yeah, pitch time. Let's go to pitch time. But I will start. I'll start the pitches tonight. I want to start them. What I'm gonna pitch is totally unrelated. Amazing Spider-Man opens up tomorrow. I don't know if you guys saw the first one. Good flick, James Garfield. I think does a very good job of Peter Parker. I'm excited to see it. Not as excited as I am for X-Men for X-Men. What's it called? Days of Future Past, which I'm just like geeking out about. But I am a comic fan. Amazing Spider-Man 2 tomorrow looks pretty darn good. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what James Garfield does in the second one. I think The Amazing Spider-Man, the first one, might have been the second best Spider-Man movie ever, only behind Spider-Man 2. So interested to see. Interested to see what Jamie Foxx, what James Garfield, what they bring to the table tomorrow. So there's my pitch. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 tomorrow night opens up theaters across the world.
I'll go. It's a 2-part pitch. First, Bojar, get the network. Then, part 2, Jim, this goes for you and Bojar. Watch the Triple Steel Cage match, then watch Ready to Rumble.
Have you guys seen the Triple Steel Cage match? Either of you, John or Jim?
Yes, I was watching it at your house.
What were your thoughts?
It's good.
When we were talking to Sam, that's right.
Yeah, he was watching it at the same time.
Yeah, dude.
How good would you say it is?
It's good. It's fun.
Scale 1 to 10.
I will give it a 9.
Wow.
And part of that goes for Jeff Jarrett having that rip-off Kid Rock entrance music, which I think actually might have been the actual track. I'm not really sure.
What bump is is better? That one in the Triple Steel Cage match, the real one, or Ready to Rumble?
Obviously, it's Ready to Rumble. I mean, there's no...
Ready to Rumble will run an award.
You can't argue with that.
My turn to plug. Go ahead, John. I'll go last. I got nothing, so I'll try to think of something.
I'll half-ass this one. Some of you out there may own the WrestleMania 20 DVD. Go all the way to disc 3. There is a 45-minute documentary called The Mania of WrestleMania. Watch it. It's not bad. Past that, support your local newspaper. Don't watch TV news. That shit sucks. Print is where it's at. Boom.
Can you watch that on the network?
You can. I'm sure you can.
Behind the Mania. Did you ever watch those WrestleMania 21 movie trailers?
Oh my gosh,
those are great. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Those are hilarious.
The Stone Cold one, unbelievable.
Well, I like the Christian one, and who was that? Stacy Keibler or whatever.
Artistic activity.
And Benoit, yeah.
Yeah, and then Benoit and Jericho just look at him like, what the heck? That's so great. And
are we allowed to say Benoit's name?
Well, hey, we're not.
Arthur Holly, that's his name.
Yeah, well, we're not under the WWE Network banner. The WWE Network might eventually pick us up to air this.
We're under the WWF banner.
Yeah, we're the World Wildlife Federation or whatever they're called. All right, my plug too. Well, we'll go with Benoit. David Benoit making his debut this week. That's special. And TNA tonight. Gunner continues his progression, and my gosh, I hope his feud with James Storm is finally over, although it's a great feud. TNA Youngsters is where it's at. Gunner, EC3. So check out the show tonight. If you miss it, watch it illegally somewhere.
Yeah, Ryan, how are you going to watch tonight?
I may watch on TV. I don't think anybody's here.
Go watch it right now.
Yeah.
Oh, and if you haven't seen this yet, if you go onto YouTube and you have nothing better to do for 2.5 minutes, Impact 365, what do TNA wrestlers think of Eric Young as champion? Please go in about 46 seconds, and you can hear perhaps the greatest statement ever.
Eric Young is the greatest world champion TNA's ever seen.
I'm going to make that my ringtone.
I was going to say, that is my new ringtone.
It's gay. It's a great ringtone. Great ringtone. Jim, I'm gonna have you take us out tonight, and I think you know the appropriate way to do so.
I really don't. I really, we've been potting for 2 hours. I don't even know what time it is.
Actually, only an hour and a half.
I got nothing, man. I don't know. What do you want me to do? I don't. Oh gosh, is this? I don't know. Do I have to say over out like FK9? What do you want me to do?
Well, I think
touch
you
the top of my laptop.
I figured you'd play Willow one more time.
Oh.
I thought it was obvious.
Oh, I guess I killed it now, man.
Why don't you tweet FK9? Invite him.
World champion TNA's ever seen.
Oh man, I just realized that Jimmy Rockstar Spud's on as we speak in some incredible getup.
Kurt Angle.
Wait for the wife to get home to watch.
All right, well, we're closing out. I'm tired. My eyes. It looks like I'm drunk.
All right.
I don't know how to stop it. It's been so long.